Hey, what's sizzling, everybody? Copper Stopper here. I just want to go over some things. Had some comments, some emails sent to me, some bootlickers, you know what I mean, about the right to travel. You do have the right to travel. Several Supreme Court justices have ruled on this, and it's not a matter of, oh, it's easier if you just comply. If you think or say that just bowing down and complying to the police just because they said so is it's easier, and you're the problem. Okay, you need to. Everyone needs to stand up for their rights. You know, I've heard it said by many auditors, rights are like muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them. And that's what's going on. A lot of people just bow down and hand over their information. They do whatever they're told to do, unlawful or not. And that's why we are where we are today. And I don't believe that we should just be, complying with unlawful orders just to make things easier on us. The easy part is, what would make it easier on us is if everyone would stand up for their rights and put these people in their place. They work for us, not the other way around. If you have not committed a crime, which, there's a big difference between committing a crime and not obeying orders that you shouldn't be given anyway. If you haven't committed a crime, they have no authority. Zero authority, no crime, no authority. That's how it works. In fact, we have authority over them. If you have not committed a crime, they have no reason to be barking orders. You tell them what to do. They work for us. We don't work for them. And that is a huge misunderstanding in the United States so many people are just used to obeying that they think that anyone who knows their rights is starting trouble. So we're going to cover your right to travel today. It is very important, very, very important, that people understand that your right to travel is exactly that. It's a right. It is not a privilege. You do not have to, well, there are a lot of things you don't have to do that they make you do, you know what I mean? But we're going to get into this. This can explain it more than, better than I can. I'm going to turn the camera so you can see what I'm reading from as I'm reading it. I'm not going to state the cases and the numbers and all that. You can see all that for yourself while I'm reading. But we have some things to cover, so let's get to it. All right, we start off with, it is the duty of the courts to be watchful for the constitutional rights of the citizen and against any stealthy encroachments thereon. Okay? Personal liberty, or the right to enjoyment of life and liberty, is one of the fundamental or natural rights, which has been protected by its inclusion as a guarantee in the various constitutions, which is not derived from or dependent on the United States Constitution, which may not be submitted to a vote and may not depend on the outcome of an election. It is one of the most sacred and valuable rights, as sacred as the right to private property, and is regarded as inalienable. Then we go down. we have personal liberty largely consists of the right of locomotion to go where and when one pleases, only so far restrained as the rights of others may make it necessary for the welfare of all other citizens. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but the common right which he has under his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may, therefore, under normal circumstances, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering nor disturbing another's rights, he will be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct. And that's how you find that. And then, personal liberty consists of the power of locomotion, of changing situations, of removing one's person to whatever place one's inclination may direct, without imprisonment or restraint, unless by due process of law. Okay? Based upon the fundamental ground that the sovereign state has the plenary control of the streets and highways and the exercise of its police power, may absolutely prohibit the use of the streets as a place for the prosecution of a private business for gain. They all recognize the fundamental distinction between the ordinary right of the citizen to use the streets in the usual way and use the streets as a place of business or a main instrumentality of business for private gain. The former is a common right. The latter is an extraordinary use. As to the former, the legislative power is confined to regulation. As to the latter, it is plenary and extends even to absolute prohibition. Since the use of the streets by a common carrier in the prosecution of its business as such is not a right but a mere license of privilege. That means if you get paid to drive, it is a privilege to get a license. That's what all that means. If you get paid to drive and transport people, property, goods, you must have a license. You have to. It's a privilege to use our streets, our highways, to transport goods for monetary gain. That's what that means. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. And they get away with this every day because people do not know their rights. And this paper that I'm showing you and I'm reading from, I hand these to the police if I get pulled over. If they stop me for any reason, they get one of these and nothing else. I do not identify myself. I do not explain myself. I hand them this. I shut up. That's all they get from me. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one because of this exercise of constitutional rights. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and the individual cannot be rightfully deprived. A few cases there for you to look up. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by horse-drawn carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city can prohibit or permit at will, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Do you guys see where this is going? I mean, everybody wants to talk and say that the cops, you know, just obey. But they are getting away with this every single day, violating your fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the honest truth is, if there's not an emergency, if you have not caused an accident, you have not violated anyone else's rights, you have not done anything criminal, they have no right to stop you. Period. No crime, no authority, right? No crime, no authority. Remember that. The word automobile connotes a pleasure vehicle designed for the transportation of persons on highways. There's that. And then a motor vehicle or automobile for hire is a motor vehicle other than an automobile stage used for the transportations of persons for which remuneration is received. See that? And this is how cops try to get you, is with their lingo. You know what I mean? They use these words. Automobile, that's how you travel. Vehicle or motor vehicle means you are for hire. You are in commercial capacity. You get paid to be in a motor vehicle. Your automobile gets you from point A to point B, and you have the right to do that. It's not a privilege. You do not require licensing. The term motor vehicle is different and broader than the word automobile. Get it through your head. Motor vehicle is different and broader than automobile. Motor vehicle means you get paid to be in that vehicle. When I go to the store, when I take my children to their doctor's appointments, when I want to go to a football game, I am traveling in my automobile. I am not engaging in commerce on the roads or highways in a motor vehicle. I am in my personal means of conveyance or my automobile. If the right of passing through a state by a citizen of the United States is one guaranteed by the Constitution, it must be sacred from state taxation. Yeah. And highways are for the use of the traveling public, and all have the right to use them in a reasonable and proper manner. The use thereof is an inalienable right of every citizen, not only people who waive their right to travel to get a driver's license when you are not required to. But once you do that, you've entered into a contract with the state, okay? And it's pretty easy to get out of their forms. But you have entered into a contract with the state and waived your right to travel by getting a driver's license and license plates and all that jazz. The Supreme Court has held, as you can see, several times that this is a fundamental right to travel. I think we went over Thompson versus Smith already, but we'll read it anyway. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege, which can be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has under his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? Supreme Court. All Supreme Court rulings. Users of the highway for transportation of persons and property for hire may be subjected to special regulations not applicable to those using the highway for public purposes. Okay? Not applicable. if you are the public. Constitutionally protected liberty includes the right to travel. Look that up. The use of the automobile as a necessary adjunct to the earning of a livelihood in modern life requires us, in the interest of realism, to conclude that the right to use an automobile on the public highways partakes of the nature of a liberty within the meaning of the constitutional guarantees. The right of the citizen to drive on the public street with freedom from police interference, unless he is engaged in suspicious conduct associated in some manner with criminality, not feelings. You can't just say, oh, I don't like the way you look, so I'm stopping you. No. You have to be associated in some manner with criminality. Your conduct has to be, they have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion that you have committed a crime. That means they have to articulate what crime they suspect you of committing, about to commit, or are committing. It's a fundamental constitutional right which must be protected by the courts. The right to travel on the public highways is a constitutional right. The right to travel is part of the liberty that a citizen cannot be deprived of without due process of law. Okay. No state shall convert a liberty into a license and charge a fee therefor. See that? Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. Read it again. No state shall convert a liberty into a license and charge a fee therefor. Constitutional right to travel, people. That means you do not need a driver's license. You do not need these license plates. These are rules and regulations governing commercial vehicles, not your personal private property, not your personal means of conveyance, and not for you to go to and from places. Only if you're getting paid to be on the road do you need it. Uber drivers, gotta have a license. Sorry and shit. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, here we go. No state shall convert a liberty until... Okay, we already read that. Then we got... If a state converts a right or liberty into a privilege, the citizen can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right with impunity. Okay? The assertion of federal rights, when plainly and reasonably made, is not to be defeated under the name of local practice. And then we have... The state cannot diminish rights of the people. Statutes that violate the plain and obvious principles of common right and common reason are null and void. The right to travel is a well-established common right that does not owe its existence to the federal government. It is recognized by the courts as a natural right. Okay? This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. In the same article, it says just who within our government that is bound by this supreme law. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Now, what I will say is, since this is well-established law, these are Supreme Court rulings, and since it is well-established, I hand this to the officers, and if they violate those rights, they lose their qualified immunity. And I will follow up. I file complaints. I'm going to do all of that. And this is just the beginning of what I'm fighting for, is our right to travel. It's not where I'm stopping. This is just where I'm starting. There's a lot more. I've been studying the law now for years, and I had to, because it seemed like every other day I was being harassed by police, and it's, it was almost like I was being stalked, and something has to be done. Like, once they get their eyes on you and they want to retaliate against you for whatever reason, bruise their ego, or you upset them and hurt their feelings because you refuse to just bow down and do what they say. They retaliate against you, and this has to stop. So what we'll be doing is highlighting good officers and exposing the bad ones. I should have been out on patrol, is what we're going to call it. But I've had a lot going on in life. Just a lot of things going on. I own my own business, and it's just been really crazy, and I haven't been able to get out yet. I am going out this weekend. Subscribe, hit the bell, change it to all so you get all the notifications for my uploads. Like and share, subscribe, tell all your friends about me, because things are gonna start getting real this weekend. I will be out this weekend. I will upload all of my videos, by Monday. So stay tuned.